Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Q&A Day. It's Sleeping Saturday if you're listening to on Facebook. Welcome. This is our Wisdom of the Sages podcast. We do it every day. Study of the sacred literature of India. We are going through 18,000 verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the book, the gold standard of what bhakti is, or what the essence of yoga is, what the essence of all Vedic teachings is, which is the soul has to reconnect. The soul feels disconnected in the material world. You can be surrounded by thousands of people and still have that feeling of disconnection. And that disconnection is something very normal. Not only very normal, it will always reoccur in our life, even though we might be the most popular, get a lot of accolades, get a lot of fame, get a lot of love. We have tons of friends around. That feeling of loneliness comes from where there's a lack of connection with the source. And that is sort of the goal of yoga. How can I reconnect with the source? So we do this podcast every day. You can binge listen. Just go to anywhere you get podcasts. Binge listen Wisdom of the Sages. We've done whatever. How many? 670 episodes, Mara?
Today is 678.
I just guessed. I was not that bad.
Pretty good.
It was a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
Right? And I do it with my old buddy Kaustubha from the hardcore scene, circa early 80s, 1982, CBGBs. Yet we somehow became monks. And here we are, 30-something years later, many trips to India later. And we're here. And today on Saturday, we do questions and answers. So sometimes the people will write in a question. If you have a question, you can write into wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. We keep a whole tally of questions, and then we try our best to answer them. Any other announcements before we leave? Kaustubha, Mara?
Yep. Back to recovery group meeting today at 9:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Any Wisdom of the Sages listeners that live in Ireland and want to connect with other listeners there can email to wotsireland@gmail.com. And then also there's no show this Monday or Tuesday because Raghu's traveling.
We're traveling. Me and Mara and a little crew are going to India just for a few days, and then we're going to Nepal. So we're all excited about that. And then Kaustubha's traveling next week. We're it's going to be a little choppy. A little choppy.
I also want to mention that this PayPal link is up. If people would like to donate funds to help the devotee community in Ukraine that are under such intense living under such intense circumstances right now, you can do this. And so some nice devotees who have a nonprofit here in America are accepting the PayPal donations and forwarding them efficiently to the devotees in Ukraine. And if you would like to do that, you can either go to the Wisdom of the Sages Facebook page or the Wisdom of the Sages Instagram page, and there you will find all the information. Our latest post on both of those has a big image so you can't miss it. But also, I can just give it to you right now. This is the PayPal account vrajamohan1008 at gmail.com. That's VRAJAMOHAN 1008 at gmail.com. And
Yeah.
and you can help.
You just have to put that email in, and it will come up to that account. You know, this is the real deal. If you want to help. These people are really focused on helping. It's not going right into someone's offshore bank account. You never know. Sometimes when you're sending a donation. So we
These
really
are trusted
just
people.
These are trusted people. We verified.
And it's so many people that we know are being affected. Victoria, who's usually here with, is she here with us this morning? She's here. With us
she is. I think
every
she's in
day.
India, listening in India right now, but she's on
she's in
Zoom
India.
right now.
Okay, we're so, because her parents are in a city that's being hit particularly hard right now, and we're really hoping that they'll be able to get out safely. But we're praying for all the people there.
Oh, Kaustubha, how to find lasting peace, eternal peace in the temporary world. How do we do that?
Do it.
That's the question.
The linking practice of Bhakti-yoga.
It works. It works. It really does. And we're going to talk about it today. And should we get into these questions right now?
Let's do it. We have a lot of questions like that are kind of for the two of us today.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us, Kaustubha.
Yeah.
You and I. So many good songs out there. So many good songs that you could just change and make them into bhakti songs, don't you think?
I thought you were going to say so many good songs you can change and make them into not so good songs. But yes, they could be changed into bhakti songs too. Okay. Shall I read the first question?
Yeah, you read, please.
Okay, this is coming from an anonymous Zother, which means it's a person that sometimes is a Zoom listener and sometimes they're just listening as another.
And other means you're not on Zoom. We have a Zoom group. How many people we had in Zoom today? 99. Come on, somebody, one more for 100. And some people are just out there listening to podcasts. They don't even know how they got there. I got podcasts like that. I don't even know how I got these podcasts. And then some people go to Zoom and then go back to being an other and then come back to Zoom. We call them Zothers. And some people show up at my house or your house or wherever we are, and we call them live. And today we have David Charles Wilson and Ariana and Bunky live.
Okay. Here's the question. Coming from an anonymous Zother. I've got a question for both. That means the two of us. In episode 670, you spoke about how the universe can put you into destitution, but that there's a sense of sweetness in that destitution. All right. Interesting. Well, I feel that destitution from time to time. My reasons may be funny to others, but that's how I feel. I lost my japa beads this morning, and I'm like so angry and saying, Krishna, why are you doing this? Okay, so it's,
I like
japa
this
beads
already.
means
I like
one's
where this
little,
is going.
like one's rosary beads for their meditation, right? And at these moments of anger, I'm like trying to collect some philosophy and figure out why Krishna made it happen. Am I doing it right? Is this developing a relationship with Krishna? It's some kind of relationship, right? They say Krishna is Bhava Grahi Janardana, which means that Krishna accepts one's intention, one's feeling, right? How do I understand this name in context of my being angry at Krishna in my destitution? I mean, it's not always anger. Sometimes it's gratitude, sometimes despair, sometimes appreciation. But I'm asking about anger, perhaps being a bit annoyed is a better word. Does it count as developing a relationship? Like, in other words, they're asking, if I am angry at God for the things that are going on in my life, am I developing a relationship with God through this?
Right.
And also, a related question on this topic of samadarshana, or equal vision. Oh boy, that's a challenge. When someone ticks me off, all I can see is this person is doing something to me. But I don't see Krishna, nor do I see the material coverings that act. Even though the Gita says that we act according to the nature we acquire from the three modes, rather, I blame it all on the person apparently acting, not even on my karma. Right? In these kinds of situations where, for instance, I lose something, get lucky, or something else like that, I can be like, yeah, Krishna, what the heck? Or, thanks for helping me, Krishna. But when another person is involved, I see them separately from Krishna, especially if they're close to me. How can I see Krishna in everyone? How can I understand them, but also myself as parts, maybe even agents of Krishna? Okay, good. Two good questions in there. Should we deal with them one at a time, Raghu?
Yeah, sure.
So the first one is, I lose this, I stub my toe, this or that, and then I think, Krishna, why did you do this? Oh God, why did you do this to me? Is that bad? Is it good? Is it developing a relationship? How do we, how does Krishna respond to that? I think that's the gist of the question. Does it count as developing a relationship? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
You're asking me. I'll jump.
Yeah,
I like that playful relationship with Krishna, as long as it's not done out of like really like I'm actually angry at God. We don't want a bitterness with God, and that can happen if we are in a situation where we're very, very sick. We have some chronic sickness. We have some disaster happening to us where there's like a bitterness with God. If it's a playful banter with God, and I think that's a little bit different. And it sort of sounds like that's where he's going with this. There's a great poem by Surdas.
Oh, Surdas.
Can I read this to you?
All right.
It was sent to me by my Brijbasi friend, Krishna Murari Goswami. Oh, my Lord, I am yours, even if I am a servant. If I am sad, I am happy. I am yours. If I'm happy, I am yours. If I am far, I am yours. And if I am close, I am yours. If I am fallen, I am yours. And if I am silly, I am yours. If I am new, and if I am yours. And if I am old, I am yours. If I am very cruel, I am yours. And if I am kind, I am yours. Oh, my Lord, I am just a recipient of your mercy. Oh, my Lord, I am a mere singer of your glories. Oh, my Lord, you are my greatest supporter. I'm just a recipient of your mercy, says Surdas. Did I read this to you before? I can't remember.
Yeah,
sorry if I didn't read it again.
No,
sorry if it's a
problem.
rerun.
Twice. But it seems to me like that poem captures part of what our anonymous writer is saying, but not in other words, what that poem is saying is, even though I'm all screwed up, maybe
right,
under any circumstances, please consider me yours. Like, don't reject me, accept me. It's a little bit different than saying, why did you do this to me? I was just considering.
Yeah, I was thinking like sort of like he's talking about Krishna. What he's seeing is Krishna behind everything. That was sort of like where I was going with that. How would you say it? How would you answer it?
Well, I see that, and that is, it's like this. It's interesting. There's this verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this very important text that speaks so much about what bhakti is. And there's a definition of bhakti given there, right?
Anya Bilashita Sunyam.
Yeah.
Yana
Kamar. So that first half of the verse, it explains that bhakti means there's no personal motive, in one's offering. In other words, it's like, I don't want anything from God. I'm doing it out of love entirely, right? Not that I want things from God. A lot of times people approach God, please give me things. A lot of times people approach God, please give me liberation from this world. It's saying it's free from those kind of motives. Now we're reading just this past week in Bhagavatam where Dhruva, he wanted something from God, and Narada, a great Bhakti-yogi, said, okay, if that's where you're at, then go ahead and approach Lord Vishnu for the things that you want. Better you do that, right? But that's not pure bhakti, right? That's not pure bhakti. It's got all kinds of other stuff blended in. But then that verse continues. And it says that going into further detail and identifying what is pure bhakti, it says Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Uttama, right? That it's done favorably. In other words, it's a constant meditation on God, but it's a meditation on God favorably. And then in the commentaries on it, it gives an example, right? That there's some people that hate Krishna, right? Now they're thinking about him all the time.
Like Kamsa, we read the Krishna's pastimes.
Yeah, it's like when Raghunath does the Sweet Baby Krishna, you have some of those stories with Kamsa or other Shishupala.
Yeah,
and others.
And they're always thinking about Krishna, but in a negative way. Like, I want to kill Krishna. I want to fear Krishna.
That's right. So it's said that this is in bhakti, although they're always thinking of God. They're always thinking of Krishna. You can't call that pure bhakti. Bhakti is done in a favorable mood, right? But at the same time, they say that those demons, they benefit from always thinking about Krishna, right? Because just Krishna is purifying, just he's a force of purification, you know? So
And
it's beneficial to be
purifi-
thinking about him.
Yeah, it's purifying. I mean,
Yeah.
Kamsa was liberated by always thinking of Krishna.
That's right. But I assume that our listener here that's writing in, our anonymous listener, that they don't necessarily want to be in the Kamsa demon category,
Yeah,
the
I don't
Shishapal
think that's what
category.
they want.
They're cultivating bhakti. So it means that it's good that your mind immediately goes to God. Now let's begin to regulate how we think about God. Let's begin to adjust it. Let's begin to fine tune it, right? So like when you lose something, you think, God, why are you doing this to me? Really, right there is where we want to start to reprogram the mind, right? Rather than wallow in victimhood, right? It's good that you're connecting with God. Now just purify that a little bit. And it may be something that may feel unnatural, right? It may feel like that's not the way that I normally think. But what we're doing is we recognize I'm not my mind, and it's my mind that's programmed to think that way. I'm going to start to reprogram that mind so that it starts to think the way that I want it to think. And that's done through repetition, right? Like whenever you hit that moment, you think, not going there. You think, I'm foolish, that I'm so forgetful, about God, that I'm lost in this material world with this ridiculous mind that a lot makes me forget things all the time and misplace things and so on. So when you think about Krishna in that moment, when I'm in that kind of moment, I think of myself more like I'm embarrassed before Krishna. Like, look at me, look where I am now.
Yeah.
Like here I am, I'm meant to be, deeply lost in loving adventure with you in the spiritual realm. And here I am like an idiot, stuck in the material realm in the most mundane circumstances like a moron, And so if you think about your relationship in that way, then it's kind of a little prayer. Like, it's kind of a little bit like look at me, I'm lost down here. I want to reconnect. I'm tired I'm tired of this existence like this.
Sometimes I will yell at Krishna and I say, Krishna, what do you want from me? What would you like from me? Just tell me. I'm frustrated. Please tell me. But it's almost like you still have a little bit of loving respect in there. It's not just like he's your. Well, out of your own frustration,
Yeah, and so, but we're never instructed to approach Krishna in that way. On a super advanced level,
Wait,
when you're under
how I just said I do it.
Yeah. In other words, like we will read about in the spiritual world how Krishna's parents or the gopis will become angry with Krishna and chastise him, and fight back or put him in his place or something like that. And that actually in that realm, when that's done with nothing but pure bhakti, with nothing but pure love,
Right.
then he actually enjoys that, the flavor of that relationship. But we're not there, and we can't pretend we're there. So we approach with reverence. We approach with respect. With the dasya mood. With I am your servant. I'm your servant. So we want to adopt that attitude. If we feel we're slipping out of that attitude, then we want to bring the mind back to that attitude. Is that all right with you in your spontaneous devotional mood? Or does
Sometimes me and Krishna get into arguments. Sometimes me and Krishna get into little skiffs.
Okay. So now the second part of the question had to do with Samadarshana. Like sometimes it's a person that's causing me this frustration. It's not that I lost something. Sometimes another person walks into my world and creates some kind of disturbance. And when our writer's saying when they're in that position, they tend to think this person is doing something to me and it's upsetting me. I'm angry at this person. Rather, they're saying they try to reach for some philosophy. I like the way they put it. I'm trying to reach for something to meditate on, for something to think about, to help me better categorize what I'm going through right now. And so they're asking, what do you do? How can you better cultivate? Let me just try to find that question again. In these kind of situations, I can be like, yeah, Krishna, what the heck? Thanks for helping me, Krishna. But when another person is involved, I see them separately from Krishna. That's such a key phrase, especially if they're close to me. How can I see Krishna in everyone? How can I understand them but also myself as parts and maybe even agents of Krishna. How, Raghunath? How?
First of all, we're just hearing these descriptions of who we are in the universe, who we are in relationship to others and to God. It helps shed some light into what we're going through, because we can't know what we can't understand from a greater vantage point. For example, my house is gray and stone. I can't see that from inside the house, but someone from outside can explain it to me. So in the same way, we hear of what our position is in the material world. And we hear what is happening to us, and then we try to apply it and see if this works with, first of all, just giving me a better understanding of the world. Well, if I've tried my old way. My old way is I think I'm the controller. I think I'm in charge of everything. Things happen that aren't favorable, and I get bitter. I get frustrated. I try to recontrol it. That doesn't work. So, and then I've opened up to different paradigms or ways to view the world. So the Vedic paradigm is things don't happen to us; they happen for us. Okay. There's a higher power. The higher power is benevolent. We're an illusion. We think we're the center. We're not the center. We're part of something much bigger. Therefore, when something does happen to us that appears like it's coming from a particular person, institution, political party, etc., we understand there is something behind that for my evolution. And it's not even that person that's responsible for it. My ex or my so-called enemy, they've got nothing to do with it. It is God's hand that brings me closer to him, using that person for my benefit. And that's a huge understanding. And I will say that my joy in life is going to come when my mind is peaceful. And that's got nothing to do with an external situation. And it's got everything to do with how I control my mind and how I view the world. And I find in my life, this way of viewing the world gives me complete peace, or at least gives me an understanding of how to get out of this glue trap of material existence and mental granny knots. Ooh, mental granny knots. I like that. Just made it up. You like that, Mara?
I do,
mental
yeah.
Granny knot? Okay.
Okay, that's great. That's your worldview. Now, how do you take that worldview and make it come alive in your life when it's put to the test and someone does something to you that just ticks you off?
Well, I have to step back and I have to apply it, and I have to try and I have to not just apply it. I have to imbibe it.
Oh,
I don't just read it, then I apply it. So the application is
I
a
think
huge
we're getting
thing
somewhere
in
here
our
right
practice.
now. So you're saying that when, for instance, someone ticks you off, then that is right there where you apply the philosophy, and it becomes particularly effective in becoming more deeply ingrained in the way that you think.
Yeah, and because not just in this lifetime, right? I've been practicing wrong thinking. Mm-hmm. I've been practicing wrong theories, right? Mm-hmm. For not just in this lifetime, for lifetimes. So mm-hmm. I have got a lot of unlearning to do. And we basically practice unlearning by hearing truth on a regular basis. And then the truth becomes the vantage point instead of my illusion becomes the vantage point. My illusion there's no real answer to that. There's no solution to that anyway. But hearing on a regular basis, which is why you and I decided we don't do this once in a while. We do this show every day. Why? For our benefit. We need to hear truth on a regular basis. And you and I travel. We do yoga programs and teach philosophies and teacher trainings, and people like it. And they say, "Oh, this is good. I really enjoyed that." And then they go back to life. And we thought, how can we do this every day so that people that get inspired by it can hear it every day? That's the way we change. We change by not doing things sort of like when they feel good, or when when there's a yoga philosophy class. We change by hearing it every day and practice applying it every day. Then we become a different person. That's the only way this stuff comes alive.
Okay. So if that's the case, in other words, if the bumps that we, that come up on our path, and when, for instance, in the form of someone ticking us off, mm-hmm. if that is the exact spot where we are challenged to apply this philosophy, well, then we can look at those moments in our days as special opportunities. Right? In other words, they could be welcomed as, oh, you know what? If everything was going smooth, I would never really have the kind of challenge that I need to begin to apply and deepen this way of thinking. So let me be grateful that this person has ticked me off. And as our writer was saying, it's like they understand the whole thing, because they said, you know, when that happens, I don't think of it as the material energy moving them. I separate them from Krishna, you know, which is really the definition of illusion. Yeah. Right? Seeing anything separate from Krishna. And I just think they're doing it to me. So that's, you know what's true, but you just have a hard time seeing through those eyes, seeing through those jnana chakshusa, right? And so Raghunath's saying there's a way to develop those eyes, or there's a way to develop that way of thinking. And that's through reflection on this when we're in that circumstance. Now, there's in the 4th chapter of the Gita, 10th verse, Krishna uses a phrase. He says, jnana tapasa. Like the tapas means...
Tapas of the eyes. The tapas of knowledge.
Of knowledge, yeah. Tapas can mean like heat or even fire. So it's like the heat of knowledge. It's, you know, it's right in that, you know, like the friction that you're feeling right there. You apply that knowledge to that friction and it becomes transformative. So this is a great opportunity, right? That everything that's ticking us off, that the Bhakti-yogi is saying, okay, these are the opportunities that I need to deepen this knowledge. So there's not just theory, but that it becomes matured into wisdom in me, and I begin to see through those eyes of wisdom.
What to speak of if someone's driving us crazy, hurting us, you know, being cruel to us. Doesn't mean we shouldn't create a healthy separation. I get that. But my default is to hate back. You're hurting me, I'm going to hurt you. It's like a tit for tat, a revenge, a spite, a resentment. These things cause misery to the mind. They stay in the mind. They sort of like plaque on your tooth. You can't get it off. So from the get-go, we got to challenge these things and say, hey, let's face it. A lot of us chant, we meditate. Why are we doing this anyway? We are calling in divine information to help us purify our consciousness, to help us be more compassionate, more tolerant, more loving. And then all of a sudden, this evil person shows up in my life causing me trouble. Don't you understand? Your prayers are answered.
Okay.
It's answering your prayers. Okay. Now, how are you going to deal with it?
All right. Thank you, Raghu. Thank you. Actually, in our retreat that we're going to have in June at
we are going to bring an enemy. We're going to bring an enemy there just to tick you off and see how you relate.
It's like that Monty Python sketch where they go in looking for an argument. You know that one? You walk into a room and someone's going to just start insulting you. It's like a special opportunities.
We're gonna quiz everybody, see how they're doing in their spiritual life. Please meet. And we're going to just bring in. Anyway.
It's a type of sadhana. We're going to have like 6 doors, and you walk in the first one and someone just starts spewing insults at you. And then, you got to respond to that. And then you walk into the next door. No, but I'm actually, the course that I'll be teaching for that is going to be called Reflection, a Practice of Divine Alchemy.
Ooh, me like that.
You want to hear the description?
Yes.
It says,
wait, where are you teaching this?
At your home.
Oh.
Because we're going to do, you haven't seen the write-up I put together, have you?
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
We're going to do a retreat with Satchidananda Swami beginning June 7th through June 10th in upstate New York.
By the way, if you're interested, let me chop you down. No, if you're interested in that, you got to get on that, because that thing is actually filling up. Mara, what's the
Bhakti Retreats 108@gmail.com.
But has it even gone, like, it's not even up for like.
It's not even up, but just people hear about it and they're signing up.
How did you can sign up? They just put in your name, but not actually register.
I don't know. I'm not doing.
I don't know that people are registered.
This is. I'll read you the description. You ready? The whole thing is called Step Inside: Practices of Inner Transformation Through Bhakti, a Wisdom of the Sages retreat with special guest Satchidananda Swami. All right. And a Step Inside retreat is designed to inspire those who aspire for a deeper internal life in the practice of bhakti. Raghunath and Kaustubha are excited to present to Wisdom of the Sages listeners the opportunity to meet and hear from a teacher who has served as a dear friend and mentor to both of them since their earliest days of practicing bhakti. The courses by all three teachers are focused on the inner work that is essential to spiritual life, but too often neglected due to the obstacles placed before us by our current world of distraction. Beyond the courses, there'll be lots of kirtan, delicious food, and a chance for everyone to get to know each other at the beautiful Super Soul Farm. It's a perfect way to start your summer. So Satchidananda Swami is going to teach a course called The Living Name, where he draws from his book, The Living Name, just all kind of, great teachings on how to align body, mind, and heart to overcome distraction and thus embark on a path to full absorption in mantra meditation. And Raghunath is doing?
Slaying, sweet baby Krishna, slaying the inner demons.
Sweet baby Krishna can slay our inner demons. We can't move forward in spiritual life without confronting some pesky inner demons. Yeah. When we ignore them or try to just push them down, they don't go away. They work out a comeback strategy and return stronger than before.
Yeah, they go down in the basement, lift weights, come back stronger than before. You think it's gone. I'm just gonna ignore those demons. They'll go away.
It's like if you think you put them in a little prison, but they're working out in prison.
They're working. They're doing push-ups.
Okay.
The real question is, what is Kaustubha's inner demon? That's what I want to know.
There's more than one.
Mara, does he have any inner demons, this guy?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Serious. They're like buff. They got like all the tattoos, like on their
tattoos
face,
on their neck
and everything like that. Okay. So anyway,
all right, let's go. You squirreled me. Did you squirrel right off this question? Where are we?
Well, no. The whole point was the question was all about exactly this. That this thing I'm doing, reflection and practice of divine alchemy, was here's the description of that. It's there's a practice of divine alchemy. Where is it? There's a practice presented in Bhagavad-gita that combines the receiving of knowledge through hearing and the art of ripening that knowledge through reflection. That's what we're talking about, right? The end result is wisdom. Kaustubha will outline some teachings from the sacred texts of Bhakti and share practical ways of how we might deepen our reflection on them in the course of our regular days. All right? That's what it's all about. Manana, they call it, Raghunath.
Manana? Mana.
Yeah.
Manana. You know that
all right.
song?
I got a question for you, Rebbe.
Hit me.
This one from Cherry Yannick, formerly of Brooklyn, now based in Oceanside, California. You ready? You paying attention?
Hit me.
She writes, I'm wondering why there are these different spellings of Krishna. For example, there's a regular Krishna with S-H-N-A. There's also K-R-S-N-A with those mysterious dots underneath the middle letters.
Mysterious dots.
And why there are different names of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana, Bhagavat. Are there times when I should use one spelling name or another? Or is this purely regional? Or is it that people are different? Everybody's different.
People are just different. Back off, Sherry Yannick.
Everyone can do whatever they want. She writes, I miss regularly being on Zoom since I moved to California, but it's nice to at least attend on the weekends. Thanks for all you do. With great gratitude for the three of you. Cherry Yannick, thanks, Cherry.
Good question.
She's here with us. She's here with us today.
Yeah. Ever read a book on like Hinduism from like 1925?
The Hindus.
And they write it Hindoo. And it's you're dealing with different alphabets. So it's like whoever gets to it first starts a translation of that word. And you'll see a lot of these Sanskrit words spelled all different ways. And then
when they're transliterated into the English, you're saying.
Yeah, and there is a group called the IAST, the International Alphabet of Sanskrit Transliteration, and I'm sure that exists.
What?
Hello.
I didn't know.
Welcome to my world of philology, my friends.
I had no idea you were like mingling in these intellectual circles. Right
Me and the mad professor, we do this all the time. Word nerds.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So there is a group that makes it official. you know, and people have been doing Sanskrit since I think it was like 1864 or something like that. When the East India Company had their people, they're translating, you know, the Max Muellers of the world, translating the
anthropology now for us.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of, you know, books that they ultimately where they were trying to translate it to show how it all came from Christianity, which, you know, the more you study it, the more you realize these things are ancient. But, you know, there's people that they call them Indianologists. I think that's a politically incorrect to say now, but Indianologist.
Well, you know what the cool thing about Sanskrit is?
What?
And it plays out in Hindi and in other Indian languages, but like, yeah, we could spell it Hindu like Hindu. We could spell it Hindoo. In English, like you can spell, you know, like you never know how something's meant to be spelled, but in Sanskrit, there's only one way. There's no ambiguity, right? Like every sound that you could make, you know, in the language has a particular character that represents that sound. So you know exactly if you're looking at a word, you know exactly how it's pronounced. Like for instance, Ramayana, and there's no, you know, there's no doubt about it. You understand what I'm saying, Raga?
Yeah.
You're looking at me like, yeah. So when we see Krishna with the 3 dots under it, that's a transliteration of the sound Krishna. But when you see it there, you know exactly. You know, that's taking Sanskrit and trying to transliterate it into English characters. So the K with the R with a dot means re, right? And the S with a dot under it means sh, like that. So it's just kind of like a very accurate way of presenting it.
So there is an official group, like in the universe, on the globe, that does these and makes it official. But
what makes
before
what
that
official?
group,
I don't understand. What are they making?
I mean, there's
official?
a way to do the Sanskrit that come up with what is the actual transliteration. There's a group of people.
But I thought it's like very clear. That's the whole point of making it. It's unambiguous, isn't it?
I don't know.
They're doing something. They're doing
something. Who are making the rules about how to, you know. You know, just like.
Well, what
just
about
like,
Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavat?
They have different names, but I mean, the Srimad is just like it's like a beautiful title, like His Holiness or Your Honor,
Honorific.
His Excellency. So it's honorific. Srimad, it means like the very beautiful Bhagavatam, the stories of Bhagawan or God. You know, just what we use this word Bhagavan, Bhagavat, Bhagavad-gita. They're all the names of the, you know, it's different tenses of the world of a personal God. Yeah. And so they're from a canon of literature called the Puranas, and Purana actually means very ancient, very old. So the Bhagavad Purana, it's the Purana part of the canon of Puranas that is about Bhagawan. And there's the Garuda Purana, there's the Nrsimha Purana, the Kurma Purana, the Vishnu Purana, Padma, Shiva Purana.
So many are there.
So many Puranas.
I think like probably the most generic way to refer to it would be the Bhagavad Purana.
Yeah.
But then when you're part of the tradition, you call it, that's the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a more
very beautiful.
Yeah, it's a more heartfelt way to refer to it. Or if you're being just a little bit, you want to just be a little quicker, then you should just say the Bhagavat.
Say the SB. Give me the SB.
Like in academic circles, they may do like that too, you know, or in the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavat. But it's all
or Shelter, message of the Bhagavat.
Yeah, you see, Shelter did that right there.
Do that.
That's because you mingle in these academic circles. When you're not around us, Raghunath is like with the intelligentsia.
What do you think I'm doing? I'm like Harvard.edu. That's what I'm logging into. While you're on Instagram, I'm like studying philology.
Okay.
Online courses.
Very good.
While Mara's on Snapchat.
Okay. Why did you have to? Why, Raghunath? Why did you have to do that?
Joking. You guys are good. You guys, because everyone knows I'm a. Okay.
The next question.
Continuing on, and this is from our good friend Sherry Yannick.
No, that's what I just read you.
Oh, that was Sherry Yannick's. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hello. This is important. This is from Indra Bahia, who
in your behavior.
I met in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna, dear Mara, Raghunath, and Kaustubha, please accept my obeisances. She said, I'm still working on the humble part. You said my humble obeisances.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I love you.
Oh,
I just called to say I love you. That's
how
a
many
song.
times in one?
I am making my way through all the episodes, 1 to 354. That's where she's at.
Okay.
She's only got about 300 more, and she'll be right on it.
20 something more.
You know what? There's a lot of dead time in the world where you can just play some transcendental information, driving here and there, put on a podcast.
Well, if you're just starting, if you listen to 2 a day, how long would it take you to catch up? It'd take at least 3 years, more. So you got to listen to like 3 a day if you're gonna if you're gonna catch.
It's getting tougher and tougher every day too.
Yeah.
So she says, I have a question about Comedic Yoga. Some
Have you
women
ever
I
heard
know-
of Comedic Yoga before?
I've never heard of it.
I hadn't either.
I had to do some research on it.
I did too.
I have a question about Comedic Yoga. Some women I know are yoga teachers and they promote Comedic Yoga, aka African yoga. Some quite vehemently as being the original form of yoga. They claim that Africa is the origin of mankind and the origin of yoga. I disagree with this coming from a Vedic perspective, she says.
Okay.
Anyhow, I tried to start a conversation with one teacher who was really nice, but it didn't go so deep. It wasn't anyone's fault, just the circumstances didn't allow for deeper philosophical discussion about the origins of yoga. However, my question is, should I be the one to try to correct them? I understand and support the importance of empowering Black people. There is no question about that. I also understand that this empowerment often includes being proud of one's roots and praising Mother Africa and can help to heal traumas. Also, I don't want to fall victim to overzealous righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
But the Comedic Yoga is not the original yoga. Black bodily representation will still matter to some, and to some extent, depending on my state of consciousness, will matter to me, right? Thank you. Big hugs to all you and your listeners.
I believe what she's saying there is like that she's saying, as a Black woman, it matters to me too. I believe that that's what she's saying, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. You know, we have some identity with our body, our relationship with our body. Not what the yoga system is ultimately teaching from the ABCs of the Bhagavad-gita, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even a man. Don't hate me for being a white man. I'm not white and I'm not a man. I'm just that for a few days.
Okay. So
I'm as much of a woman as Mare is a woman.
are you?
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on from Raghunath's identity issues and tackle this question. So you know, I honestly I'd never heard of Comedic Yoga. I did do a little research, and it was interesting research. I'll be honest, right? The research that I did very little to convince me that Comedic Yoga predates yoga from India. Now, my faith in the tradition stemming out of the Vedic culture is that, you know, yoga goes back so far. It's like yoga's eternal. Right. And you know, we're reading right now about Dhruva's getting instructions in yoga right now. And, you know, there's arguments within, you know, among scholars of yoga stemming from the Vedic tradition, from the, you know, the Indian yoga tradition, if you want to call it that, about where the asanas come from, for instance. You know, like, are these asanas really thousands of years old, or were they developed more recently? You know,
Yeah.
or what's being taught as yoga today, was it developed more recently? And, you know, in some ways, I think these are kind of pointless, because the fact is that in practically any culture, there's going to be people that are going to discover some things about moving the body and some things about breathing, and they're going to come
Sure.
up with similar ideas about how we can develop mental health and physical health through moving and breathing. And if you want, you can call that yoga. Now, the yoga tradition out of India is something that's just a tiny part of it, right? We're talking about something far more vast, where there are literally hundreds and millions of Sanskrit verses, you know, conveying, you know, important, dense philosophical concepts in a tradition coming down with thousands of commentaries and, temples built around these teachings and, arts of, drama and music and et cetera, et cetera. It's an incredibly vast, well-documented, well-studied, ancient system of more than just moving and breathing, but of understanding life altogether. And that's yoga, right? Like that's yoga. And what I read through, I'm not saying that there wasn't something similar in Africa that was related or unrelated to it. I
Or
really
around the
don't
world.
know.
Who knows?
Or
It could
in other
happen
places in
around
the
the
world.
world.
Yeah. Or perhaps the African, ideas were influenced by India. It's a possibility. Now, I read some writings from in my very cursory investigation
Of Comedic Yoga.
of Comedic Yoga, I discovered that it's the idea of it has been popularized in the 70s, where a couple people, tied together some ideas about, looking at hieroglyphics and the positions of the bodies. They determined that there was a yoga system there, and then they did some more studying and came up with different ideas about living that were presented there, and they presented this as Comedic Yoga. And so it's a relatively new idea. I'm not saying that it wasn't practiced very long ago, but the ideas about it and the research into it are very new. And there's certain things there that didn't seem to me like very well researched. Like this is one statement that comes from a person named, what is his name? His last name is Hotep.
Hotep.
Who's one of the two people that kind of brought this to the forefront. He says, the fact is, examples of Indian yoga can be found in ancient Egypt, but examples of ancient Comedic yoga cannot be found in India. The conclusion one can draw from this is that the yoga of Egypt is much older than the one found in India. Now, to me, that sounds absolutely backwards.
Right.
I don't get it. But even if that's the case, it's like serious scholarship's got to be based on a lot, something a lot stronger than just like kind of like, but this is my real point. This is my real answer to this question is, and I think that Indra was kind of catching on to herself when she said, should I be the person to really dig into this and start a battle over this? Is it, and what it made me think of, Raghunath? It made me think of a pastime amongst our great acharyas, our great teachers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It made me think of, it's said that within our tradition, within this Gaudiya Vaishnava Bhakti Krishna Bhakti tradition, there's 6 very important figures called the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, right? And they wrote a lot of the important books from which we draw our understanding of Vedanta. And they were not only great scholars, but they were great saints.
Vedanta is the end of the Vedas, the Vedic conclusion.
Yeah. So one of them was named Rupa Goswami. He was one of the elder Goswamis. And another one was named Jiva Goswami. He was the nephew of Rupa. And considered really like the ultimate philosopher, And one day, and in those days, you used to have these competitions amongst scholars, and they would travel all over India and debate one another, and it was like a big deal, and it was like, and they would debate. It was definitely a different world. In our world, debates are never settled, right? Nobody ever admits that they're wrong or that the other person has a better argument.
You have to sign off on it in Indian culture,
They
right?
would
You have
sign
to
off on
sign
it,
the guy's
like,
paper. I've been defeated.
They had that kind of integrity, I suppose, where they say, I admit it, your argument was better than mine.
We couldn't even sell out a debate. People are like, I'm not interested in a debate.
Well, they will watch it going on nonstop. But
the day or soccer of the day.
I mean, we do get captivated in political debate and things like that. But the point is there is no yardstick to measure who's right or wrong. It's just like you always just pick the side that you're on, and
right,
and it quickly disintegrates into ad hominem attacks. And so what happened was this one philosopher came to town for the purpose of defeating Rupa Goswami, because he knew if I defeat Rupa, it's almost like in prize fighting or something like that, like I'll be number one, or, it'll increase his reputation.
Yeah, you go after the biggest guy.
Right. And so this scholar came to Vrindavan and he wanted to debate with Rupa. And so he approached Rupa and challenged him. And Rupa said, oh, no, no, no. You know what? You're much more, intellectually powerful than me. Just give me the paper. I'll sign it and we can be done with this.
This is a great story. I'm glad you're saying this.
It's a great story, right?
It's very, very relevant in everybody listening's lives right now.
Okay. Everybody listen up. So he just said, yeah, oh, no problem. Let me sign off on that. You win. You're the better debater. You beat me. Here you go. But why? Because he was absorbed in meditation on Krishna. He wanted his mind to stay absorbed.
He couldn't care less
He
about
couldn't
debating.
Yeah, my reputation. You can take it.
Sometimes people, they come to you and they say, Kaustubha, I want to know about this. Tell me about this. And you have to spend some time, break things down, give them a little love. But sometimes they just want to cause trouble. They just want to debate for the sake of debating. And you have to become expert at who that is. And you have to be able to say, you know what? It's all yours. It's all yours. Yeah, you hate it. You hate it. Yeah, it's all bogus. It's all crazy. He's upside down. Well, just let him live like that.
See, now the story goes on, is that so Rupa just signed the paper. Hey, there you go. Now, Jiva, who considers himself the disciple of Rupa, he's my mentor. He's my teacher. I love him with all my heart. When he heard about this debater and this signature, he became upset. Yeah. And he was thinking, hold it. This person is insulting such a great person, such a pure person, such a deeply learned person. I can't bear this. The whole thing is just making me sick. He said, you and I will debate. And if I win, I'm just his student. So it just proves that there's no way that your knowledge is superior to Rupa Goswami. So let's debate. So Jiva debated with him and defeated him, got that person to sign the paper, and in this way defended the honor of his guru, right? So now interesting. Now this was Rupa's reaction.
Now this is the twist I didn't really quite get. This is sort of like, this part of the story never like.
Well, no, don't worry about it. No, we have to understand what to take from this, Raghunath. Okay. The point here is that when Rupa heard that Jiva defended him and won in that debate, his response was he wasn't like, okay, you showed him. Now it's established that I'm number one again. He, as a mentor to Jiva, he was like, why are you wasting your time like this? Right? He said, to be in Vrindavan, which where Raghunath's going right now, just like Raghunath, you're preparing yourself to go to Vrindavan, right?
I am.
What are you doing to prepare?
I'm cleaning the house. I'm making sure the cats are taken care of. No.
Okay.
I'm reading a little bit extra. Getting a little bit more deeper in my puja, my meditation.
Right. There's the material things you have to do. I understand that. That's important. Yeah. But especially you want to prepare your mind and your heart to be there, because that's the spiritual realm. That's Krishna's, to stay there, to live there. The whole point is I've given up all the mundane stuff. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in truth. I'm interested in the beauty of love for Krishna. He was saying, Jiva, that you would absorb your mind in this kind of petty stuff indicates that you don't belong in Vrindavan. And he told him to get out like that. It was like kind of when the guru is like real heavy, he was like that. Eventually, it's Sanatan, Rupa's brother, said, hey, come on, man, let him off the hook. And the whole thing was resolved. But the point is this, is that Rupa said, why are we absorbing our minds in all of this petty stuff? If I'm going to do that, my mind's never going to go where I want it to go, to the higher, deeply beautiful spiritual stuff. So let me not waste my time. And I think Indra kind of got, I think in her own thing, which she wrote, I sensed that she was picking that up. Like, should I be the person to dig into this and make a whole thing? You could spend, you could get into like a very heated, personal kind of squabble about this that would maybe harm relationships and certainly absorb your mind. Then you get into the whole internet battle and you're going back and forth and insulting each other and all that kind of stuff.
I know.
Who needs that? Right? Who needs that? So I appreciate.
That's what I'm saying. We deal with that on a regular basis. If you're like posting a spiritual thing on the And then someone writes back with some like, so there's some people who really want to get to the bottom of truth. They really want to, what do you think about this? And there's some people that just want to like vomit, and they're trying to vomit on you and vomit all over you. And it's just, don't have time for it. Life is too short.
That's right.
If you think you're going to win an internet debate, you're not gonna. It's just going to go nowhere.
Everybody loses.
No, everyone loses, even those reading it.
Yeah. So I think Indra was, caught on to that, when she says, should I be the one to correct them? I think your intuition is right that there's no need to get, if you could have an open conversation about it, there's no need, it's kind of like the people that are most invested in it are the ones that are most insecure, but you have your faith, you have your knowledge. And if someone's eager to accept that or wants to hear more about that, like Raghunath saying, share it, great. And if someone is opposed to it, wants to put up a battle, wants to get it, there's really no need to. And I think better probably just to let it be.
Yeah, I'm so uninterested. If someone's not interested in Bhakti or Krishna, I'm fine with that. I'll even be your friend. I don't care. I don't care what you do. I think Krishna is so cool and so fun and such a wonderful community. If you got something better, you go with that and run with it. Happy for you.
All right. I think that's it. We're over time.
What? 9:03.
Yeah.
That went quick. Woohoo. Well, thanks for joining us, Facebook people. And we do this every day. Please join us tomorrow. Interview. We have Maleti Devi Dasi. Right. Excited for that. Any local people, I need cat sitters. Just putting that out there. What else is going on? This is a community-supported podcast. If you like what we do, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. That's how we float this boat. And we've been floating it for almost 2 years. How long are we doing this?
Over 2 years and
over 2
months.
Yeah, we started January 1st, 2020. And if you have questions for Wisdom of the Sages for next Saturday, email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And hey, go to check out wisdomofthesages.com while you're at it. Get on our mailing list. Check out our recovery group. We have a 12-step recovery group specifically for those who see the higher power as sweet baby Krishna and want to get deeper into their bhakti recovery. It's important. We all have to recover from this material world. We're going through hell here in the material world, and we need some type of recovery. Thanks for everybody involved in that, and super grateful to be here with all of you guys. Now we sit and we sing and we die.